William "Bill" Fawcett was a character actor in Hollywood B-films and in television. His career extended from 1946 until the early 1970s. He is probably best remembered for his role as the cantankerous, rusty-voiced Pete Wilkie of the Broken Wheel Ranch on the NBC series Fury, co-starring Peter Graves, Bobby Diamond, and Roger Mobley. He was one of the few actors to have earned a Ph.D. degree. Early years, military and education. Fawcett was born as William Fawcett Thompson in High Forest in Olmsted County near Rochester in southeastern Minnesota. The name Fawcett came from the physician who delivered him. His father, William Eaton Lawrence Thompson, was a Methodist pastor who encouraged young Bill to enter the ministry. On September 5, 1916, 3 days before his 22nd birthday, Fawcett was licensed to preach by the Hamline Quarterly Conference of the Methodist Episcopal Church of Minnesota. During World War I, Fawcett served as an ambulance driver in the United States Army. He graduated from Methodist-affiliated Hamline University in the capital city of St. Paul, Minnesota. Fawcett was decorated by the French government with the Legion d'Honneur for his care of the wounded. After his military service, he went into acting, instead of the ministry, first in Canada and then in the United States. He had performed in church dramas and acted so convincingly that his mother would sometimes cry over his characterizations. He performed in repertory theater and stock companies during the 1920s and 1930s. In 1936, Fawcett procured his Ph.D. in Elizabethan drama from the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. He then became a professor of theater arts at Michigan State University in East Lansing, Michigan, heading to Hollywood. In 1942, he left Michigan State to audition in Hollywood as an actor himself. He sought a part as a college professor but was turned down on the grounds that he did not fit the part. Fawcett was a thin, wiry man and filled the bill for Pete, the ornery, cantankerous, but fiercely loyal, old coot. Fawcett adopted his stage name when he found that there were several other actors already using the name of William Thompson. His first film credit came at the age of 52, when in 1946, he portrayed Judge Smith in Stars Over Texas. In 1947, he starred as Nat in Green Dolphin Street and as Andre the Beachcomber in The Sea Hound. That same year, he was Uncle Bob in Pioneer Justice. In 1948, Fawcett portrayed Judge Hammond in Indiana Check Your Guns and as a news hawker in Superman. Fawcett's roles continued in 1949 as Professor Hamill, a scientist and inventor, in Batman and Robin, and as Merlin the Magician in Adventures of Sir Galahad. He played Ezra Fielding that same year in Barbary Pirate and a judge in Ride films in the 1950s. In 1950, Fawcett was cast as Zeke in Chain Gang, as Ezra in Cody of the Pony Express, and as Wharton in Pirates of the High Seas. In 1951, one of his busiest years, he was Mr. Tuttle in The Mating Season, Mr. Jackson in Mysterious Island, A Old Mountain Man in Comin' Round the Mountain, Alkali in Cattle Queen, and Olfa in Captain Video, Master of the Stratosphere. He had a good role as Washoe, a ranch cook in Hills of Utah. He was armored in The Magic Carpet. In 1952, Fawcett played Weatherbeer in Kansas Territory, the High Priest in King of the Congo, caretaker in Has Anybody Seen My Gal, and was Dr. Rolfe in Black Hawk, a serial. He had some excellent scenes as cattle rancher Uncle John in Barbed Wire. In 1953, Fawcett continued as Dr. Fairchild in Neanderthal Man and as Orrin Hadley in Run for the Hills. In 1954, he was Rocky Ford in Riding with Buffalo Bill and as old pickup driver in Gangbusters. In 1955, Fawcett was Cubby Crouch in Seminole Uprising. In 1956, he portrayed Jurgens in Canyon River, Matthew Barnes in Dakota Incident, and Pa to Andy Griffith in No Time for Sergeants. He was also featured in archival footage on the children's program, The Gabby Hayes Show. He also appeared in Disney's TV miniseries Davy Crockett. In 1958, Fawcett was a farmer in Good Day for a Hanging. From 1957 to 1959, Fawcett appeared as Sam Miller, the hanged publisher of the Wilcox-Clarion newspaper in Wilcox, Arizona, in the premiere episode of the syndicated Western series 26 Men, Stories About the Arizona Ranges, starring Tristram Coffin. He also appeared in the series in various roles on 4 other occasions. Films of the 1960s. In the 1960s, the roles in film grew fewer. He was Lester Lonergan in Meredith Wilson's The Music Man in 1962 and Mike in The Quick Gun in 1964. He appeared as Steinmetz in King Rat and as Jensen the pharmacist in Jesse James Meets Frankenstein's Daughter. He was Ollie Jensen in Hostile Guns in 1967. He played Taxman in Blackbeard's Ghost in 1968. In 1969 and 1970, Fawcett appeared, respectively, in 2 Disney films, The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes and Menace on the Mountain. In 1969, Fawcett played the key supporting role as Old Man Warner in the film version of Shirley Jackson's famous short story, The Lottery, guest starring on television. Fury aired on Saturday mornings from 1955 to 1960. Fawcett played the housekeeper and general ranch hand to Jim Newton and Jim's adopted son, Joey Clark Newton. Fawcett guest-starred on dozens of television series. He appeared as Grandpa 7 times between 1953 and 1956 in the syndicated series The Cisco Kid, starring Duncan Ronaldo and Leo Carrillo. Fawcett appeared 9 times on The Range Rider, 7 times in The Adventures of Kit Carson, and 5 times on 26 Men. In 1954, he played an unnamed prospector gunned down without provocation by the notorious Joaquin Murrieta, bandit of the California Gold Rush, played by Rick Jason, in an episode of Jim Davis's Stories of the Century. Fawcett's many other roles included Buffalo Bill, Jr., The Public Defender, Brave Eagle, The Lone Ranger, Annie Oakley, Pony Express, Riverboat, Sugarfoot, The Tall Man, Laramie, Leave It to Beaver, Straight Away, The Adventures of Rin Tin Tin, The Travels of Jamie McFeeters, Circus Boy, The Dakotas, Adam 12, Cheyenne, I Dream of Jeannie, The Law and Misty, Jones, Tammy, Frontier Justice, Maverick, Dundee and the Cullinan, The Investigators, Gunsmoke, Daniel Boone, The Rifleman, Mr. Lucky, Wagon Train, Bonanza, Harrigan and Son, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, The Virginian, The Road West, Rawhide 77, Sunset Strip and The Twilight Zone. Fawcett also had a lead as Jed McNabb in a dramatic episode of Fireside Theatre entitled To Stand Alone. He portrayed a motel owner in the 1962 Perry Mason episode, The Case of the Bluffing Blast, and a pawn shop owner in the 1964 episode, The Case of the Wednesday Woman. He also guest-starred on Robert Conrad's unconventional Western series, The Wild Wild West. Death of the Fawcetts. On August 18, 1925, Fawcett married the former Ellen Cragg in Minnetonka, a suburb of Minneapolis in Hennepin County. The union lasted until his death. The couple was childless. Fawcett died of cardiovascular disease at the age of 79 in Sherman Oaks, California. He and Ellen, who died on June 17, 1997, are interred in Roselawn Cemetery in Roseville, north of St. Paul.